Guruve Gauri Chanjaya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Vanchakalpatruvescha Kripashindave Bhaja Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Shri Gauri Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Dandavat Pranam devotees, I really hope the sound is working here. The other day I was attempting to answer a question and the sound was not working, so I felt very bad. So I went back into sort of the archives of other tapes that I had done or other answers I had done and posted something which was related to the subject matter. Of course, some other questions have come in since then, and to try not to get too far behind the coming of the questions, I'm doing a short answer session today. So first, let me go back to one Mataji's questions. And her question was about us coming into the material world and having to go through the 8,400,000 species of life. I'm going to back up and take a look at the question directly. And she wanted to know, just like a comparison, that in the material world, a crime is punished according to the degree of the crime. And so she was wondering if our relationship with the 8,400,000 species of life, and I'm paraphrasing, is related to particular level of punishment in coming to the material world, especially based on our, desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. So I posted an answer from a previous question that was similar, but I'll go back and answer this directly now, and then her follow-up question I'll also answer. So, as I mentioned in the other video, the jiva's sojourn in the material world does not have a beginning. The proof or praman for this idea is there in Srimad Bhagavatam. And Srimad Bhagavatam is our ultimate source of proof or evidence for any kind of conclusive statements called Siddhanta. So there, in 11:22:10, it states, Anari avidya yuktasha Anari avidya yuktasha purushasha atmavedanam Svatona sambhavantiyanya ganatva ganado bhavet. So this verse, it states in the very first line, Anadi avidya yuktasha. The jiva's connection with avidya. Avidya means ignorance. So essentially what happens is that the jiva themselves, the atma, never touches material energy. Asango hi anyam purusha. So this is a statement in Upanishads that actually the jiva never touches material energy. Well, then how does the jiva become entrapped in it? So the answer is given by the understanding of what is avidya. Avidya essentially is a influence of the inferior energy or material energy, and what that energy does is it gives a influence on the chitta. The chitta is the expanse of consciousness coming from the Atma. And I've given the example often because it's pretty apropos that it's like a big flat screen TV in one sense. And on that flat TV screen of the chitta, the material energy is giving impressions. These impressions are the results of things that have been going on throughout our entire sojourn in the material world. So according exactly to the karmic portfolio you have, because Srimad Bhagavatam says, Kamana Daivana Natrena Jantur Dehopapatye, that everyone, Stri Uttabhaveshta Pungsareta Kanarsaya, every person who's born into the material world is born according to their karma. Right? So the question in part that she had was, wait a minute, well, what about in the animal species? Well, in the sojourn of the jiva, their particular relationship with karma is unknown. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, when he's commenting on the Bhagavad Gita verse 13:20. Purusha Prakriti Chaiva. On this verse, he's commenting, he says, the question may be asked, when and where essentially did the beginning of the jiva's connection with the material energy arise? So he says there is no beginning to it. Therefore, there's no way to trace out what the karmic pattern was and how we became entangled in a particular species and then how we evolved. And certainly in the human species, which are 400,000 of the 8,400,000 species, 400,000 are considered to be within the human domain. And karma is an effective ingredient there in deciding the unfoldment of human consciousness, whereas below that, there's sort of a natural evolution. But how that arrangement has taken place, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, one of the main acharyas in our line, has said that is an undiscernible fact. The fact that we do know, the connection is anadi. And the word anadi literally means time without any beginning. Right? So I'll get to why this is shortly, but I don't want to lose the chain of thought. So that connection is from anadikal, time without any beginning, and there is no sourcing of how and why and what species we started with, etc., etc. Sometimes it's explained that first we had the position of Lord Brahma. That's a very complicated explanation. I'll reference that if you want to understand how the jivas have the vision of the post of Lord Brahma, you should read Laghu Bhagavatamrita of Srila Rupa Goswami Pad. In the section on Guna Avatars, he describes Lord Brahma and he describes how there is a position in which the jivas become observers to the field of enjoyment from the position of Brahma. So my Guru Parapadma and others have said this does not mean that the jiva first becomes Brahma, etc., etc. Right? It's just, that's a very complicated subject. So the jiva sojourn with the material energy has no beginning. And the complications of what species they started with and so forth and so on, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that cannot be ascertained. Now, the real big question is, well, why would Krishna then select, because we know there are two categories of jivas, why would some jivas be selected to go to the material world and others be selected to enter into the spiritual world? That seems to indicate a partiality on the part of Bhagavan. That seems to indicate some injustice to those jivas who came into the material world, so to speak. But you need to understand one thing. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained this in the 16th chapter of Jaiva Dharma. Rasa Akila, hold on. Akila Rasamrita Murti. I'm trying to go too fast because I'm multitasking here as well. Akila Rasamrita Murti. Therefore, because he is the fountainhead of all rasa, he has unlimited desires of various kinds of taste. And Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Songsa Vibhinangsha Rupa Hana Vishtar Ananta Vaikunte Brahmananda Kare Navihar. Because he has the tendency to enjoy rasa in such a wide variety, that expression of enjoying rasa happens in Ananta Vaikunte, means the spiritual world, and Brahmananda, meaning the material world. So actually the material creation is also a lila of Krishna. It is called Srishti Lila, the creation lila. And those jivas who have been sojourning in this Srishti Lila repetitively from time without any beginning, right, they can be, and in fact at some point will definitively be delivered from the material influence, right, once they take to the inclination to serve Bhagavan. Now let me explain that. In the material realm, the term that's used, anadi, Jiva Goswami explained it in Tattva Sandarbha. Anadi means something that has no beginning, but it does have an end. So the jiva sojourn in the material world can never be permanent. Jiva Goswami is also mentioned, Dasa Bhutta Harieva Nanyasha Eva Karachana. That factually speaking, the jiva is a servant of Bhagavan and cannot truly be anything else. So I was explaining avidya before, and so now we can continue with that because now it'll make even more sense. That the jiva, observing the influence of material energy on the chitta, vicariously identifies with that and develops an alternative self-conception. It is called asmita. Asmi means I am somebody, right? And once this asmita, the influence of the inferior energy, comes, at that time, a suitable covering to that comes. It is called ahamkara. Ahamkara, we generally translate it as false ego, but it literally means the asmita, who I think I am, is aham, karta, and karana. Karta means the doer, and karana means the cause. So the reason this is false is because Bhagavad Gita has clearly stated, Prakriti kriyamanani gunai kamani savasha aham kara vimudatma kartamiti manyate. That the Atma is bewildered by the idea of being the cause and doer, when in fact, all of the things that we are vicariously identifying with are being carried out by the material modes of nature. You understand? So the jiva is not actually doing anything but having a desire. That desire is playing out through the false ego on the sheet of consciousness called the chitta, and the jiva is identifying with it. Specifically, every jiva, after having a hamkar, every jiva, according to their karma, receives a particular upadi. Upadi means a self-conception that my name is this is my race, this is my culture, this is where I was born, this is my husband, this is my wife, these are my children, this is my home, right? This is all due to upadi, designation. That's why one of the verses describing pure bhakti is Sava upadi vinirmuktam, becoming free from all upadis. You understand? So after one receives these ahamkara, upadi, asmita, the next influence of avidya is called rag and dvesh. Because now the atma, which is essentially, Jiva Goswami says, chit ananda atmaka. Right? Chit ananda atmaka means it has bliss in its nature. But here the word bliss doesn't mean the bliss coming from Swarup Shakti or the Parashakti of Bhagavan. Here, Chit Ananda Atmaka means Dukkha Pratiyogito, Jiva Goswami says. Means there is no misery in the Atma. So the material miseries that we experience in this world, they're not actually in the Atma, it's coming only by vicarious identification. And this vicarious identification functions in two ways. It makes us have rag and dvesh, attachment and aversion. We're attached to those things which we think give us happiness, and we are obviously adverse to those things which impinge or infringe on that idea of being happy. The next thing is called abhinivesh. And abhinivesh is an absorption which does not allow the jiva to self-extricate themselves. It also produces the fear of death because it is so strong and the jiva can't extricate themselves from it. A fear of the end of the existence is present at all times because this body is temporal, right? And this abhinivesh is also expressed in the verse I quoted. In the last two lines it says, Swato sambhavanti anya. So, swato na, the individual can't, sambhavanti, create a change in their condition. Anya, it requires someone else. Who? Gyanatva ganado bhavet. Someone who is Gyanatva means self-realized, and Gyanadha means Gyanatva, Ganado bhavet, they're inclined to help you, show their mercy by giving you that realization. Means Sri Guru or Sadhu. Understand? So this is why the jivas are in the material world. It is part of Bhagavan Srishti Leela, right? There was no punishment of the jiva, and sometimes we think of a kind of historical genesis of misusing our free will. Oh, at some point in somewhere we misused free will and that's how we came. We really don't have to think back that far as misusing free will. What did we do yesterday? What did we do 2 hours ago? So the nature of being tatashta, the word tatashta literally means situated in a marginal position between the spiritual and material world. But we're not talking about a physical being situated. We're talking about a tendency or nature in the jiva. So if you look in Jaiva Dharma, when the question is being asked by Brajanath to Babaji Maharaj about the nature of being Tatashta, he calls it Tatashta Swabhav. In other words, he's asking what is this tendency in the jiva to be sort of adverse to Bhagavan, so to speak, and have their tendency for self-enjoyment. Well, that's a tendency in the jiva when the jiva is not imbued or endowed with Parashakti or Swarup Shakti. But again, no fear, because Bhagavan comes continuously in one avatar after another simply for the purpose of performing leelas that, if the jivas will become attracted to, ends their sojourn in the material world. It's expressed in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam. Anugrahaya bhaktanam manushinam dehinam ahastita. Bhajate tajasikritva yatshritva tatpuro bhavet. Bhavet in Sanskrit language is an imperative. And the imperative says, if you will hear the Harikatha of Bhagavan's various incarnations, it will in fact break your attachment to ignorance. And how will we hear it? From the lips of Guru and Sadhu. So the pure devotees, they will transmit that knowledge, or they will transmit the beauty of that Leela of Bhagavan, and by hearing it from them, our abhiman of being this person, that person, etc. in the material world is broken. So this is also one pastime of Bhagavan, saving the jivas. And if we want to begin the idea of perhaps being a little critical of Bhagavan, to say, well, why did you make me go through this? We should think, wait a minute. Bhagavan, as Antaryami, the super soul, has been with us also in every single species of life. As the super soul, he's traveled with us. Who has shown love to you like that? What friend, family member, anyone do you know will be with you in your very, very worst times? We have a limit, right, of what we call the worst times in material conception. But Bhagavan has been with you ongoing. You understand? So Bhagavan has showed you so much love. And your misuse of free will was not a genesis or an original thing. It is a tendency which is there maybe even to this moment if you are not Saranagit to Bhagavan and Guru. So that tendency can be broken when one, Brahmanda Brahmati Kon, Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Hoy, Bhakti Latabi. When Shri Guru is met, Sadhu is met, then their influence on the jiva allows that cycle to be broken. You understand? So it is not a punishment, and we will not be in the material world ongoing, because again, the word anadi means something that has a beginning, has no beginning, but it does have an end. So Jiva Goswami in Tattva Sandhava, he gave these definitions: what is anadi, what is ananta, what is nitya, and what is anitya. All right, I think I may have to end this here because I'm multitasking. I'm also preparing in part Takaji's offering for lunch and everything. So I'll dandavat pranam to devotees, and I will try to come back and catch up on the questions that I have missed. Mataji, I hope this was satisfactory. Of course, I saw that you did write me a follow-up question. You're free to continue to write those. And Prabhuji asked the question about service in Gurudev and how we practically implement that. I will try to get to that tomorrow, if not later on today. All right, my Dandavat Pranam. I'm praying devotees will bestow their causeless mercy on me, that I can have nishta for the service of my Guru Parapadma. And also, if any senior devotees are present, they may also comment and correct anything I may have said wrong or by mistake for my own edification as well. My Dandavat Pranam. Vanchakalpaturvishcha Kripashindavevacha Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Radhe Radhe.